Cool. So today we're going to talk about runs and how they work. And I'm sure your instructor talked about like the different poses of a walk cycle, the contact, the down, the passing, and then the up or the peak, and then back to the contact. Well, it's kind of similar to a run. There's a few little differences. In a run, you're in the air more. So there's the contact, there's the down. I'll call this a push because that's really when you start to like push into the air. In some cases in a run, the push would already have you be like off of the ground. Like this would probably be like the edge of the ground here. Right. And then the peak, which is the up pose, at the highest point, you're already in the air. So contact, down, push, peak, contact, down, push, peak. And this can kind of change depending on the type of cycle you do. But for something that feels a little bit more real and mechanical, something that is more exaggerated from real life or more observed with like the real life type of mechanics, I would try to find these poses in your reference or in basically all of your runs. So you would look for that contact, you build a pose where there's a contact where the heel or the toes touch the ground. More natural type of runs, you'll see that they're actually landing on the toes or like the ball, and the feet are closer together. Where the contact lands is closer to where the center of the body is, like the center of mass of the body. The further out front you do your contact, um, the more you have to land on your heel because it doesn't look correct when you start landing on the ball, right? And then it sort of just cycles from there. So I made some changes. I call this type of run more of like a naturalistic type of run because I did change some things for the sake of, I think it looks better. I think it's more appealing. But for the most part, I tried to stay, um, natural within the realm of what's possible. So yeah, and then the down pose would be your lowest pose. You try to build a squash pose. I would looking at these two poses between the contact and the down, I would look for getting a straight leg, like an extension, and then going to the down, I would get something with a bend. So it's those two poses when you're going from a straight leg to a bent leg is what sort of helps create the contrast. It helps create the feeling of weight where you go from a straight to a bent. You can see in a natural run, a lot of times they don't completely straighten their leg, and that's totally fine. You could try to animate it this way, but then it starts to feel like more in the realistic realm. When I look at things in reference, I'm looking for ways to push the contrast. So if there's two poses together, if it's almost a straight but it's still bent, I might just completely straighten it for the sake of contrast. Again, because that contrast helps with the clarity of the mechanics. So yeah, here's it down, I'm pushing it down. And then up, you can see between like the down and the up, it's a pretty big step. Like maybe what I could have done just looking at this now, I probably would have made the knee either further forward or further back so that it's not tangenting with the other leg. But that's a small little thing. But then yeah, going to the push, I'm already off the ground. Like you're going from here straight to here onto the next pose, right? And this is in blocking, right? So there's some of the poses have been removed. Um, and then the peak is where everything's in the air. The knee is kind of staying still, right? This leg is kind of staying still. The knee is staying still. The leg, the foot is sort of just overlapping, and then the other foot is overlapping. You see how the knees kind of stay still? They don't move too much, and then it pops into the contact again. and then you start it all over again.